Good evening. This is Dave Jones with StormCenter Communications and GeoCollaborate. This is an 11:30 update based on the National Hurricane Center's update on Hurricane Milton here on October 9th, 11:33 p.m. East Coast time. Well, you can see that Milton has moved inland. This is a very interesting product that I'm showing here. This is called the MRMS. It's called the Multi-Radar Multi-Sensor System. It's actually pretty cool, put together by the folks at the National Severe Storms Lab out of Norman, Oklahoma. And it quickly integrates multiple satellite data systems from radar networks, surface observations, numerical weather prediction models, and also climatology to generate this seamless spatiotemporal mosaic. It's really just in space and time puts together a mosaic so we can have one place to look to see how hard it's raining. I mean, we've always used radar in the past, and that has served us well, but sometimes radar beams are blocked, and sometimes there are issues with radars, so we want to supplement that with additional data. And this is what the product looks like right now. It's MRMS, and this is really pretty cool. I'm going to take this full screen so I can show you what it looks like and point a couple of things out. So here is the radar data, and what you're seeing right here is the rainfall rate. And I didn't have time before I did this update to put the key or the legend up, but I'm looking at it here at the bottom of the screen. This area right in here, and I can zoom in on that, this area right in here, which has been plaguing Tampa and St. Petersburg all night, and it's moving to the east, basically down the I-4 corridor. Orlando, here it comes, and it is raining at a rate of 4 to 4.5 inches per hour out of this area. And that is what resulted in a flash flood emergency being issued around the Tampa area tonight. So there's major flooding going on right now, and that major flood area is just following this part. It's the northern part of the eye wall around Milton that is moving right down the I-4 corridor. So Orlando, Daytona Beach, we might have some impacts there. I know we have an IV factory there, so we might indeed have some impacts. We'll be monitoring that through the day, through the night tonight, and through the day tomorrow to see how that ultimately turns out. But you can see the southern part of the storm, not a whole lot of rain, but there is some more rain that's coming in around the backside. And it is still very, very windy in these areas. So I just wanted this to be a quick update. So I'm going to show you a high resolution. I have to show you this, the 1 minute satellite imagery. Look at that. It's just like a big blob over Florida. This area, very cold cloud tops, and this is under the area that is dropping rain at 4 to 4.5 inches of rain per hour. That is causing massive floods along the I-4 corridor there, and flash flood warnings are being issued. So let me move this over just a little bit, and I'll have this full screen. I'll put up the stats for 11 o'clock. The latest stats, 75 miles southwest of Orlando, Florida, 100 miles west-southwest of Cape Canaveral. Maximum winds 105 miles per hour now, down to 105. That makes it a Category 2 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. And the movement is to the east-northeast at 16. It's been pretty consistent in its movement, east-northeast at 16, with a pressure of 960 millibars. Slowly coming up. But since it's interacting with the frontal system, the pressure is still pretty low, and there's a lot of dynamics going on, which is helping to force this rainfall out at this rate, which is just devastating. There are lots of reports of widespread flooding throughout this path, including the Tampa, St. Petersburg area. And so I'd like to show you GeoCollaborate and what it looks like from a big picture here. So here we go. This is the wind field. Look at this. We've been talking about this all evening, the wind field and how it's expanded. Now tropical storm force winds extend from basically Homestead, Florida, at the beginning down towards Key Largo, all the way up to southern Georgia out of this one storm. This is how big it is. Now, keep in mind, the winds blow counterclockwise around low pressure systems, counterclockwise. So down south of the eye, the winds are blowing onshore. They're blowing onshore very fast. And that means they're pushing water, pushing more water. And what I want to show you next quickly are the co-ops stations. These are the tide stations. And remember before, I was talking about, oh, this is great. The water's being blown out of Tampa Bay. We're not going to have major storm surge, which is awesome. But as we go and look now, take a look. The water was blowing out. Now it's coming back. So it's starting to come back in to Tampa Bay on all these sensors. So the water's starting to come up. See, you can see it starting to tick up right there. That's in that sensor there. This one over here in St. Petersburg by the pier, I believe this one is. You can see the level ticking up there right at the red area right there. I don't want to block it with this menu, but it's starting to come back in to Tampa Bay. So we'll see how far it actually does come up. If it goes, look at this one. It started to come up very quickly. This one's very erratic because of the winds and the nooks and crannies around that part of Tampa Bay here. But certainly around Port Manatee, the water is coming back in. So it's flowing back in because the winds are shifting direction. But where the winds are still blowing onshore in Fort Myers, look at this. This is right here on the river here. This is a sensor in Fort Myers, and they are approaching in major flood. They're in major flood right now because of the storm surge. So this is very close to what they experienced in Helene, if not a little bit worse. I'll check on that and let you know tomorrow what these levels look like. We'll let this play out tonight, but certainly major flooding going on right now in Fort Myers and the Fort Myers beach area. This is Cape Coral and Fort Myers. This is Fort Myers Beach. The winds are very strong coming across here, Sanibel Island, and also Captiva. Have to see what kind of damage was caused to that temporary bridge that they installed so people could get back onto Sanibel Island and Captiva after Ian a couple of years ago. Let's take one more stop down to the south, and that is Naples. And look at Naples. Naples is currently in major flood right now, and it's starting to come back down. However, they're still in major flood. So Naples is pretty flat, but so the surges get in there. But this is a high one. This one may also be close to what Helene, or maybe even exceeding what Helene was. I will take a look at these levels tomorrow and compare and see how that's going on. Now, one more level I wanted to check because the winds, and I know there was a question about how could the surges be happening on the east coast of Florida when the hurricane was making its landfall on the west coast of Florida? Well, remember, in GeoCollaborate, I showed you the wind field, and this is a big wind field. Look, it extends all the way out here in the ocean. Plus, there's a high pressure system up here over Missouri. If I scroll down a little bit, Missouri's up there. And there's a high pressure ridge. So that means it's higher pressure here, very low pressure here, and the winds are blowing counterclockwise. So they're blowing around the tropical storm into the coastline here, into the coastline. And with their high pressure to the north, it creates a bigger pressure gradient. So there's more wind blowing across the ocean into the coastline. That is why we have hurricane warnings along the east coast of Florida and also storm surge warnings. So let's take a look at that tidal gauge once again in Jacksonville and see how we're doing there. Because we've noticed the water was being pushed in, will continue to be pushed in. Tide is coming up, and then look at this, so is the level there. So certainly don't have to worry about flooding right here at Mayport, which is the Bar Pilots dock. But if we go inland a little bit, there it's not in flooding condition right now there. But down in Jacksonville, we've been touching the minor flood, and we're going back up now. So I suspect this will be in minor flood, but further down here in the river, we may indeed have flooding going on at the I-295 Buckman Bridge. And yes, we do. This is the prediction. So the tide is going down, but now it's going to start going back up. So the predicted level is for this river to get here into flood and major flood conditions. And we have plenty of time. Remember, the storm is only over Central Florida right now. So there's going to be a lot more increase in the wind coming off the ocean. So currently, no flooding at I-295 Buckman Bridge in Jacksonville, but that water is predicted to come up. So one of the last things I wanted to talk about this evening is the power out. Where do we stand so far in the state of Florida? Well, as 11:15 Eastern Time, there's more than 1.5 million meters customers without power currently. And that is likely to go up as the storm cuts across the state of Florida. But you can see the concentration in the counties and where the power is out. The storm made landfall in Sarasota. Basically, Siesta Key is where the Weather Service is pinpointing that part of the center of the eye. Of course, the storm made landfall in a much larger area. That's my own pet peeve for identifying how storms make landfall, because they're much larger storms than just one point. But I want to point out that more than 50,000 workers from at least 42 states, Washington, D.C., and Canada have been pre-positioned outside of Florida and inside of Florida so they can get up and get to work as soon as it's safe to do so. So there's a lot of response out there waiting to make this happen. But it's got to be safe before they can get back to work. They have to assess damage. They have to assess what's going on in the distribution lines or the transmission lines, and assess properties that will be turned back on as well. But just to let you know, the power outage right now numbers are back up over 1.5 million in Florida after having restored all that power in the Big Bend area after Hurricane Helene made landfall, about 9 or 10 days ago. And now we're back up over 1.5 million. That number likely to go up as the storm heads towards Orlando, Lakeland, and up towards Daytona, and impacts a large area of Florida. So we'll keep you posted during the day tomorrow. Just wanted you to know that the power outage numbers are going up because the storm is impacting Florida right now. There's going to be a lot of damage assessment to do along the coast during the day tomorrow and the next day after the storm clears the area. But in the meantime, just put up a little high-res satellite here to end the night. I appreciate all of your attention. I appreciate all of your questions, your comments, and your feedback on this video update that we produced for the All Hazards Consortium Sensitive Information Sharing Environment. We share this video and this information with private sector liaisons at states around the country so they can share it with private sector owner and operators so they can be up on what's going on, whether it's environmental hazards, threats, weather hazards, things like this. And so we strive to make these, to improve these all the time, and are just so appreciative of the feedback that we've gotten from these videos, that they've been very helpful. And that's great. So I wish all of you a good night. Those of you in the path of the storm, please stay safe. Don't go out if you think you're in the eye of the storm. And please don't touch or go near any power lines that you see down, you have to assume that they're live power lines. Let the crews and the authorities get to work to restore the power, and hope you remain safe throughout the night. Thanks again for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow morning with another update. Have a safe night, take care of yourself, and please take care of your neighbors.